Hello everybody, good morning. I am Dr. Apturkar, continuing the lecture series on arterial diseases. Now today's topic, that is gangrene. Now in last two lectures we have discussed about acute and chronic arterial obstruction and its effect, how to tackle it. Now this acute chronic arterial obstruction which causes ischemia, ultimately it leads to death of tissue resulting into gangrene. So today we will learn about the various causes that are leading to development of gangrene. What is the importance of limb saving management and rehabilitation, and how to prevent the development of gangrene. What is gangrene? The word derived from Greek word that is gangrena, which means an eating sore that ends in mortification. So by definition, gangrene is death of macroscopic portion of tissue in situ and in continuity of normal tissue, and it may be associated with putrefaction if infection supervenes, which in turns into green, brown, black, and it is characterized by zone of demarcation, particularly in dry gangrene. So by definition, it is a macroscopic death of tissue. In case of microscopic death, we call it as a necrosis. And any dead tissue present in the wound, we term it as a slough. So that is the difference between the definition. So gangrene is a death of macroscopic portion of tissue. Suppose we remove a tissue surgically or by trauma, some tissue there is a tissue loss, it becomes dead. So it will not become a gangrene. So gangrene is a disease process where the tissue is dead and turn into black. So we call it as a gangrene. Now what are the causes for gangrene? We have already discussed the arterial diseases, that is arterial occlusion, that is the major cause to develop the gangrene. So causes like atherosclerosis, embolus, peripheral vascular diseases like thromboangiitis obliterans, that is Berger disease, Raynaud's disease. Then other causes, that is infective causes, infection due to mainly bacterial infection that can cause gangrene. For example, boil carbuncle or gas gangrene, gas caused due to gas producing organism. The atherosclerosis, that is a major predisposing factor causing arterial occlusion. Then traumatic causes, either there is a direct injury to artery or indirect trauma leading to edema of the tissue compressing the artery, or there can be hematoma compressing the artery. Now, physical agents like extreme heat or extreme cold can cause gangrene due to direct effect. Then burn injuries or acid alkali, strong acid alkali. Then radiation burn can occur. So common example, that is a sunburn. We say the skin is blackened due to heavy due to strong sun rays. That is sunburn. Then venous gangrene can occur due to sudden major venous block or extensive deep venous thrombosis or major pelvic vessels block, veins block. Ergot poisoning causes severe vasospasm, vascular spasm leading to gangrene. So far we can find that peripheral vascular diseases and diabetes mellitus are the commonest causes for gangrene, which are noticed in our practice. So the slide showing various causes: infective gangrene, for example carbuncle, cancrum oris, gas gangrene due to clostridial infection. Then post-operative infection, you can get tissue gangrene. Atherosclerosis is a predisposing factor. In case of diabetic gangrene, it is associated with atherosclerosis, neuropathy, angiopathy, increased blood sugar, which predisposes to infection. So we will see the diabetic gangrene in next lecture. Physical causes, again I have enumerated: extreme heat, burn, or extreme cold that can lead to frostbite, strong acids and alkali, and X-ray irradiation. Clinical features of gangrene: as it is a dead tissue due to lack of oxygen and arterial supply, blood supply. There is absence of arterial pulsation. So pulsations, they are totally absent. No signs of viability is seen in gangrenous part. Even if you palpate the proximal part of normal tissue, we can notice that the proximal pulsation are also reduced, or sometimes they are absent. Then there is a loss of temperature. The gangrenous part feels cold. No, all types of sensation are absent. Hairs are absent. You can get the color changes depending on the course of the disease, progress of the disease, gangrene. Initially it becomes a cyanotic, later on it turns purple, then it turns into brown and black and completely black, like tarry black, due to disintegration of hemoglobin into sulfide. If it is infected or infection supervenes, then the foul smelling discharge can occur due to putrefaction. If it is a gas gangrene, we can see this typical smell coming from the gangrenous tissue, and the crepitus that is characteristic of gas gangrene. There is a total loss of function along with the loss of all types of function. Clinically, we can see the three types of gangrene. The first picture showing a dry gangrene, a second one that is a wet gangrene, and third that is the gangrene due to gas forming organism, where you get edematous limb and blebs also. In wet gangrene also you can see the blebs. So diagnosis is very obvious once you see the case of gangrene. So this is a picture of dry gangrene. You can see a totally black colored gangrenous part, and proximally it is a viable normal tissue. The gangrenous tissue, particularly toes and part of the hand, has become black. This is a dry gangrene, and you can see the clear cut line of demarcation between the viable and dead tissue. There is no edema proximally, no color changes. The proximal part appears to be nearly normal. So this is a good picture of dry gangrene. When we get the dry gangrene, when there is a gradual obstruction in the arterial lumen. So when the arterial narrowing is taking gradually, not suddenly, so we can get a picture of dry gangrene. The artery is occluded, but the venous return is normal. Venous return is intact. So there is no venous congestion. So gangrene becomes dry, shriveled. And when the gangrenous area is exposed to evaporation, like peripheral parts like toes, foot, or fingers, hand, you will get a picture of dry gangrene. And when there is no infection or infection is minimal, we can get a dry gangrene. Again, the dry gangrene is not having, will not develop in edematous tissue. If there is edema or infection supervenes, it turns into wet gangrene. What are the clinical features of dry gangrene? It is caused due to arterial obstruction. So you will get a prolonged history of disease. Again, the history of claudications, as we have earlier seen. It is more common in senile patient, old patient, that is called a senile gangrene. There is a slow, gradual blood loss of the tissue due to gradual obstruction of artery. The affected part will be seen dry, wrinkled, shrunken, mummified, discolored, greenish black or tarry black, and you can see the clear-cut line of demarcation. Now, in this picture, you can see a clear-cut line of demarcation. So there is a gangrene of distal toes, all toes. The red color of nail is due to nail polish. Now proximally you can see a clear-cut line of demarcation between gangrenous tissue and normal viable tissue. So this line of demarcation, which is characteristic of dry gangrene, is a line between dead tissue and living tissue. It is characterized by a band of hyperemia due to exposed nerve ending, and there is a layer of granulation tissue. There is a hyperesthesia in that band. So this line of demarcation is seen properly in senile gangrene. If the infection is minimum, you can get in diabetic gangrene. Commonly seen in Burgess or Raynaud's disease, frostbite, or any vascular occlusion, embolism, ligation, if it is associated with development of collateral. Otherwise, it will develop into wet gangrene. Now, this line of demarcation that is characteristic of dry gangrene, it has got significance because it limits the disease process of gangrene. The gangrene will not spread proximally, and in due course of time this line of demarcation gets deepened and deepened, and there is a separation of this gangrenous part. Ultimately this digit can get separated from the proximal part through the line of demarcation. So this condition is called as auto amputation. So this auto amputation can occur if the proximally there is adequate blood supply in the proximal tissue due to good collateral. So you can get the detachment of this gangrenous toes, that is called as auto amputation. This is a picture of wet gangrene showing a edematous part, blebs are there. The line of demarcation is ill defined. There is no clear cut granulation zone or a band of hyperemia. The proximal part is also swollen, edematous. So that is the picture of wet gangrene. Cause for wet gangrene, there is a sudden arterial or venous obstruction. Mostly it is associated with venous obstruction, acute thromboembolism or direct trauma to the vessel causing crush injury, edema of the tissue. So in that case we will get the wet gangrene. Well, now what are the features of wet gangrene? The wet gangrene occurs when there is an arterial and venous block, associated venous block. So arterial block, it is acute in nature, sudden in nature. Mostly it is an acute condition with a short duration. It is associated with supervene infection and subsequently putrefaction and causing discharge with horrible odor. The part is cold, pulseless as seen in the dry gangrene, but it is also edematous. Blebs are seen as seen in picture. The line of demarcation is not developed or it is vague or ill defined. Since the gangrene is spreading proximally, we can get skip areas proximally, which is indication that the gangrene will progress proximally. Hence, one should keep in mind that if amputation is required, then it is to be done at higher level. Otherwise, the flaps at the level of amputation will get gangrenous, or the gangrene will extend proximally. The gangrene will reappear proximally, and we have to go for another amputation at higher level. So that is due to poor circulation proximally. So we have to bear in mind the wet gangrene spreads proximally, although the area of gangrene is at one level, the wet gangrene, the disease process is proximally spreading. So we have to think of higher amputation in case of wet gangrene. The third variety, that is a gas gangrene. It is a very dangerous condition which can take the life of patient due to severe toxemia. It is caused due to Clostridial group of organism. Even the coliform bacteria can cause gas forming infection. So gas forming organism, that is mostly Clostridial group, Clostridial wilchi, or some of the coliform organism which produces gas in the wound. It spreads proximally rapidly. It causes rapid toxemia and lead to toxic shock. So what is the characteristic of gas gangrene? It is a crepitus in the tissue which can be palpated. It is a life-threatening situation, often requires major amputation to save the limb. We can diagnose the gas-forming organism by sending a swab for a microscopic and culture. So microscopic, we can see the spores organism. We have to take immediate swab from the gangrenous part, discharge from the gangrene, send it to pathology lab. Once the report comes that it contains gas producing organism, we have to treat the patient immediately. So we may require to go for major amputation if it is a case of gas gangrene. Otherwise, it becomes a life-threatening disease for the patient, which can lose the life of patient. So clinically, you will see the swollen part, gross edema, discoloration. There is an infection and putrefaction. A typical smell is there. Patient will have toxemia and high grade of fever. The line of demarcation is practically absent. And again, the diagnosis will be identifying the organism that is producing gas. Now let us compare the dry gangrene and wet or moist gangrene. So dry gangrene, the tissue is black, blackish, tarry black. Wet gangrene, it is a brownish or greenish brown. You can see a clear line of demarcation in dry gangrene. The line of demarcation is vague and it may be associated with skip areas proximally. The dry gangrene, the tissue is dry, mummified. In wet gangrene, there is edema and putrefaction, signs of infection. Sometimes there is a pus. The dry gangrene occurs due to gradual blood loss, while wet gangrene there is a sudden blood loss, acute ischemia. In dry gangrene, the separation of tissue occurs under aseptic ulcer separation. It will occur at the line of demarcation. We can call it as an auto amputation if it happens naturally. In wet gangrene, mostly there is a septic ulcer separation due to sloughing of the tissue. The digits or gangrenous part gets sloughed out. So that is a septic ulcer separation. In dry gangrene, the causes are chronic in nature. Wet gangrene causes due to acute causes. Dry gangrene, the disease is limited, so we can perform the amputation at the level of line of demarcation. So limited amputation will be sufficient in case of dry gangrene. In wet gangrene, there is a spreading of gangrene in proximal tissue also. There is a skip area. So we need to go for major high level amputation. So that is important. Coming to the management of gangrene patient. So we have to first assess the gangrene. For that, we'll go for investigations required to determine the cause of gangrene, and secondly, we will determine the level of obstruction, extent of obstruction of the arterial disease or extent of the arterial disease. So investigations like blood sugar, serum cholesterol, blood chemistry to rule out other comorbid conditions like diabetes and other things like atherosclerotic or hyperlipidemia. Then VDRL can't test, they are not done nowadays because syphilis is rare. Routine urine for sugar, acetone bodies, blood sugar, serum urea creatinine to know the kidney functions, to rule out chronic renal failure. We have to rule out chronic cardiac condition, cardiac failure. Then X-ray chest to rule out any chronic obstructive airway disease. X-rays for arteries to rule out calcification of arteries due to atherosclerosis. Then X-ray of the gangrenous part can show gas bubbles in case of gas gangrene. Then X-ray neck for cervical rib to rule out thoracic outlet obstruction as a cause for gangrene. So we have to rule out the associated comorbid conditions that can be precipitating or complicating the process of gangrene. Now further investigation they are required towards the level of gangrene. So we should know the level of arterial disease or pulsations with the help of handed Doppler or color Doppler. That is the most useful investigation to know the site of block, extent of block, extent of the disease. Then temperature gradient by palpation or thermocouple, the oscillometry to detect pulsation at different level. In peripheral vascular disease, if it is at multiple levels, we have to rule out it. Then arteriography is a gold standard in arterial disease. It may help in selecting the site of amputation. So particularly in wet gangrene, it is important to select the site of amputation to avoid the repeated amputation. So we have to decide the level of amputation with the help of this arteriography and other investigations. Coming to the treatment, so how to manage the patient having gangrene. So medical treatment in the form of antibiotics, vasodilator. Then the role of medicine is to improve the circulation to prevent proximal extension of gangrene. So gangrenous process should be limited. It should not spread proximally. The role of vasodilator particularly more useful in peripheral vascular disease to improve the circulation and even to improve the collaterals. So medical treatment more useful in small vessel diseases like peripheral vascular disease, and it can be used as adjuvant to other treatment. So we have to give analgesic for pain relief since there is a pain due to ischemia. improvement of nutrition, anemia correction, protein correction, or trace elements, vitamins that should be corrected. So improve the nutrition of patient. Then care of local infection will require, if there is a pus present, the surgical debridement, that should be conservative debridement in the form of wound toileting and debridement that is required to tackle the infection. Then foot care or care of limb, particularly in diabetic patient or in there is an infection. So foot care is important. So we'll discuss it in detail in diabetic foot. The treatment of cause and also the treatment of comorbidities. Then surgical or radiological intervention is required to improve the limb perfusion. Our aim is to save the patient from any effect of gangrene, and we should have a limb saving attitude. We should try to save the limb as far as possible. We should limit the process of gangrene to the distal level. Sometimes the gangrene is severe, or particularly like gas gangrene, we have to go with major amputations as a life-saving procedure. So life-saving procedure requiring life-threatening sepsis. So basic aim is to go for amputation, preserving the tissue proximally, and we should give a functioning limb to the patient. So try to save the limb, the part of limb, so that you can give a functioning limb to the patient. So if there is a dead part in the body, we have to detach it from the body to prevent its effect on the body. So the amputations, they are done to remove the dead tissue, dead part, that is gangrene, and sometimes we require it as a life-saving procedure. There are various types of amputations like ray amputation, where we remove one digit of toe or finger. Then other amputations in foot like rays, transmetatarsal, Symes, transcondylar, transmetatarsal Gillies, mid-tarsal, then below knee, above knee. These are the major amputations. Depending on the level of gangrene and requirement, once you decide the level of amputation, so we can go for the standard amputations. And these are the life-saving procedure which should be performed surgically. So once you perform the amputation, treatment is not completed at this level. So patient will lose his limb or part of the limb. So we have to take care of his post-operative pain by means of analgesic, then mobilization of patient, physiotherapy, and we should give a proper prosthesis, fitting prosthesis, so that patient can return to his normal life or normal functions. So that is the rehabilitation, which is more important after amputation. So complications like hemorrhage, hematoma, infection, gas gangrene due to gas forming organism, flap necrosis, wound gap, sinus from the osteomyelitis of bone, spur, bony spur, pressure sore, adherent scar, phantom limb. In case of major amputation, patient can get DVT or even pulmonary embolism threatening his life. So amputations, they are important in case of gangrene, and similarly rehabilitation of patient, that is very important. In every aspect, we should prevent the development of gangrene. So, early identification of arterial diseases, halt the process of arterial diseases with prompt treatment, proper treatment, identify pregangrenous changes which are reversible. So at that level, you can treat the patient promptly to prevent the gangrene, and we can save the limb and life of patient. So prevention is also important so that patient will not lose his limb. So that is all about the process of gangrene, various causes, and how to manage the gangrene properly. So our aim is to give the patient a functioning limb so that patient will return to his activity normally. And secondly, in every aspect we should try to prevent the development of gangrene. Otherwise, ultimately, patient will need to go for amputation. That is all for today. Thank you very much.